Welcome to Night Whisper. Night Whisper brings you the darkest tales from the shadows. Join our community. Subscribe, leave a like, and prepare yourself for stories that will haunt your dreams. I had never believed in traditions until I worked my first New Year's Eve at the Silverton Building. My name is Jake Morrison, and I've been the night security supervisor here for 3 years now. 3 years of quiet nights, endless camera footage, and solitude most people couldn't bear. But I'd chosen this life on purpose. After my divorce and the mess that followed, I needed something simple, predictable. A job where the worst emergency was a stuck elevator or a triggered fire alarm. The Silverton Building gave me just that. It's one of those old downtown buildings that somehow survived every wave of demolition and renovation. A 15-floor building of Art Deco architecture, built in 1928, still standing amidst the glass towers sprouting around it like weeds. Limestone and bronze on the exterior, geometric patterns and stylized eagles carved into its face. When night comes and the streetlights hit it just right, it's something out of an old movie. During the day, the building buzzed with activity. Law firms occupied floors 8 through 12. Accounting offices filled 6 and 7. A few small tech startups rented space on floors 3 through 5. The ground floor had a coffee shop that closed at 6 p.m. and a small lobby with original terrazzo floors and brass fixtures that probably cost more to install than my annual salary. At night, it was mine. Most nights the job was easy. Walk the floors every 2 hours, check the doors, make sure nobody had broken in. Watch the monitors showing empty hallways and dark offices. Test the fire alarm system once a week. Document everything in the shift log. Go home at 6 a.m. when the day's security supervisor arrived. Boring. Quiet. Perfect for someone like me who valued peace over excitement. But New Year's Eve was different. I'd learned that during my first year here. My first 2 years, I'd requested the night off. Personal reasons, I told my boss. The truth was more complicated. My ex-wife and I used to spend New Year's Eve at fancy parties. Champagne and countdown kisses and resolutions we never kept. After the divorce, the thought of celebrating anything felt hollow. I'd spend those nights at home with a book and some takeout, perfectly content to let the calendar change without fanfare. This year, I couldn't avoid it. Derek Patterson, the other night security supervisor, had been with the building for 15 years. He was 53, built like a retired linebacker, and one of the most unflappable people I'd ever met. In 3 years, I'd never seen him worried about anything. Until he asked me to cover New Year's Eve. "Jake, I need a favor." He'd caught me at the end of my shift, right as I was about to clock out. His face was drawn, and there were dark circles under his eyes I'd never noticed before. "Sure, Derek. What's up?" "I need you to cover New Year's Eve. I know it's your time off, but it's important." "Family thing?" He nodded. "My daughter Emma. She's having surgery on January 2nd, gallbladder. Nothing life-threatening, but she's scared, and I need to be there. Drive her to the hospital on New Year's Day. Stay with her through prep." I didn't hesitate. "Of course, I'll cover it." The relief on his face was immediate. "Thank you, really. I know it's not your favorite night." "It's fine. Probably quieter here than dealing with drunk people on the street anyway." About that. Derek pulled out a red folder I'd never seen before. The edges were worn, and the folder itself looked old. Not just used, but genuinely old, like it had been passed around for decades. "There's something you need to know about working New Year's Eve here." I waited. "It's an easy night," he said carefully. "Quieter than usual, actually. Building's completely empty except for you. Management clears everyone out by 5 p.m. No New Year's parties? No executives working late? Never. Building policy. Has been that way since before I started." He slid the folder across the desk. "But there is one thing. The countdown protocol." "Countdown protocol?" It's a checklist you need to follow throughout the night. Management's real particular about it. You've got to complete each task at specific times. I opened the folder. Inside was a single sheet of paper, yellowed with age. The text was typed on what looked like an old typewriter, though someone had made photocopies over the years. At the top, in all capitals, New Year's Eve protocol, mandatory completion. Below that, a list of 12 tasks, each one marked with a precise timestamp and specific instructions. What is this? Some kind of maintenance schedule? Sort of. Derek wouldn't meet my eyes, which was unusual for him. He always looked people straight on. Look, I know it seems weird, but just follow it exactly. Don't skip anything. Don't do things early or late. Exact times. Derek, what aren't you telling me? He finally looked at me, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw something in his expression that might have been fear. Just follow the protocol, Jake, please. I've done it twice, and both times went fine because I followed every step. Don't try to be creative or skip steps because you think they're pointless. The way he said it made my skin prickle. I looked back at the list. Some tasks seemed normal enough. Check fire doors, verify thermostats, standard security stuff. Others were stranger. Stand in a specific stairwell for exactly 3 minutes. Turn off all lights on the 15th floor. Press elevator buttons in a specific sequence. Derek, has something happened when people didn't follow this? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was low. I don't know details. Before my time. The building manager gave me the folder my first New Year's Eve, same way I'm giving it to you. He said to follow it exactly, no exceptions. I asked why. He said I'd understand after I did it once. And did you understand? Yes. Derek stood up, clearly done with the conversation. You will too. Just promise me you'll follow it, every step, exact times. I looked at the red folder, at the strange list of tasks, at Derek's worried face. I promised. That conversation had been 6 hours ago. Now I sat alone in the security office on the ground floor, the red folder open in front of me, and the clock showing 8:45 p.m. The first task was scheduled for 9 p.m. Outside, I could hear the city gearing up for celebration. Even through the building's thick walls, sounds filtered in. Car horns, music from nearby bars, groups of people laughing as they passed on the sidewalk. Everyone heading somewhere, getting ready to welcome the new year with friends and champagne and manufactured joy. Inside the Silverton Building, there was only silence. The kind of deep silence that only comes when a normally busy space is completely empty. No humming computers, no voices from conference rooms, no footsteps in hallways, just the background noise of the building itself. The heating system cycling on and off, the elevator motors in standby mode, the soft buzz of emergency exit signs. I'd done hundreds of night shifts here, but this felt different. The emptiness seemed more absolute, more intentional. I spent the next 15 minutes reviewing the protocol list in detail, trying to understand what I was getting into. Task 1, 9 p.m. Check all fire doors on floors 1 through 5. Verify they are fully closed and locked from the stairwell side. Normal enough. Fire safety was part of my regular duties anyway. Task 2, 9:15 p.m. Verify lobby thermostat is set to exactly 68 degrees. If not, adjust and wait 5 minutes to confirm temperature holds. Also normal. Temperature regulation was important in older buildings like this. Task 3, 9:30 p.m. Walk the complete perimeter of floor 3. Do not enter any offices. Do not touch any doors except the stairwell access. Complete circuit in clockwise direction. A bit more specific than usual, but still within normal security patrol parameters. Task 4, 9:50 p.m. Test emergency lights in the second floor bathroom. Turn off main lights. Count to 60. Turn main lights back on. Standard procedure. We tested emergency systems monthly. Task 5, 10:10 p.m. Stand at the lobby information desk. Face the front entrance. Remain still for 2 minutes. Here's where it started getting weird. Why stand at the desk facing the entrance? Why 2 minutes? Task 6, 10:23 p.m. Take elevator on floor 7. Press button for floor 15. When elevator arrives, let doors close without entering. Wait for elevator to return. Repeat 3 times total. Very weird. What purpose could that possibly serve? Task 7, 10:31 p.m. Northeast stairwell between floors 9 and 10. Stand on landing. Wait 3 minutes. Do not respond to any sounds. My stomach tightened when I read that one. Do not respond to any sounds. That implied there would be sounds that might make me want to respond. Task 8, 10:45 p.m. Floor 12, conference room C. Verify all doors are locked. Do not look through door windows. Why wouldn't I look through the windows? I always checked rooms visually to make sure they were secure. Task 9, 11:50 p.m. Basement. Verify. Backup generator fuel level is between half and 3/4 full. Record reading, back to normal. Then again, why such a specific fuel level range? Task 10, 11:17 p.m. Floor 15. Turn off all lights. Leave them off for exactly 5 minutes. Do not leave the floor during this time. 5 minutes in complete darkness on the top floor. Alone, unable to leave. Task 11, 11:32 p.m. Return to security office. Review all camera footage from the night. Note any anomalies in the shift log. This suggested there would be anomalies, things the cameras caught that I might have missed. Task 12, 11:59 p.m. Stand in lobby, facing front entrance. Watch the street. When countdown ends, count to 30 before moving. The final task. To be completed exactly at midnight. Watch the street and count to 30. I sat back in my chair studying the list. The timestamps were oddly specific. Not on the hour or half hour, but minutes like 23 and 31 and 17. The instructions included details that seemed unnecessary. Exact times, specific locations, restrictions on what I could or couldn't do. This wasn't a maintenance checklist. This was something else entirely. Something Derek understood but wouldn't explain. Something that had been happening in this building every New Year's Eve for God only knew how long. I checked my watch. 8:57 p.m., 3 minutes until task 1. I stood up, grabbed my clipboard and flashlight, and headed for the stairwell. Whatever this was, I was about to find out. The first 4 tasks went exactly as planned. Fire doors all secure on floors 1 through 5. Thermostat set to 68 degrees and holding steady. Perimeter walk on floor 3 completed without incident, though I had to resist the urge to peer through office windows as I passed. Emergency lights in the second floor bathroom worked perfectly, bright LEDs kicking on immediately when I flipped the main switch. By 10:08 p.m., I was starting to relax. Whatever Derek was worried about, it seemed like paranoia. The protocol was just some old management quirk, probably created decades ago by an overly cautious building manager and never updated. Maybe there had been a security incident once, and this checklist was someone's overcorrection. That's what I told myself as I walked to the lobby for task 5. Stand at the information desk, face the front entrance, remain still for 2 minutes. I positioned myself behind the tall marble desk in the center of the lobby. The desk was original to the building, a massive Art Deco piece with bronze inlays and a green marble top. During the day, A receptionist sat here directing visitors. At night, it was just another piece of furniture. I faced the front entrance. Through the glass doors, I could see the street outside. A couple walked past, bundled in coats, laughing about something. A taxi drove by. Normal city nightlife. I checked my watch. 10 p.m. exactly. I stood still. The heating system kicked off, and in the sudden quiet, I noticed something. The lobby felt different from this angle. Larger somehow. The ceiling seemed higher. The shadows in the corners seemed deeper. 30 seconds passed. Nothing happened. I kept my eyes on the street, watching people pass. A group of young women in party dresses shivering in the cold. A man walking his dog. A homeless person pushing a shopping cart. At the 60-second mark, I felt it. A presence behind me. Not a sound, not movement, just the absolute certainty that I was no longer alone in the lobby. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to check, to see what was there. But the next task's instruction echoed in my mind. Do not respond to any sounds. And this task said to face the entrance. Only the entrance. I gripped the edge of the marble desk, my knuckles going white. The presence grew stronger, closer, like someone was standing directly behind the desk, on the other side, right where the daytime receptionist would sit. I could hear breathing now, soft but distinct. In, out, in, out. Someone was there. Someone was standing 3 feet behind me, breathing. I kept my eyes locked on the street. 90 seconds, just 30 more. The breathing continued, steady, calm, not threatening exactly, but undeniably present. Then, so faint I almost missed it, a voice. Where is everyone? A woman's voice, confused, young. The kind of voice that asked an innocent question, expecting a helpful answer. I didn't respond. Face the entrance. Remain still. Hello? The voice came again, slightly louder. I'm looking for the party. Am I late? My watch showed 110 seconds. 20 more. Please, the voice said. I don't want to miss it. It's New Year's Eve. The party is tonight, isn't it? 15 seconds. I could feel her now, like heat radiating from behind the desk. Feel her confusion and worry and the desperate hope that she wasn't too late for something important. 10 seconds. Can you tell me? My watch beeped softly. 2 minutes. I walked away from the desk without looking back. My legs felt shaky, but I kept moving, crossing the lobby to the stairwell door. Only when I was inside the stairwell, door closed behind me, did I let myself breathe. The lobby was empty. It had to be empty. The building was locked down, alarmed, monitored. No one could get in without triggering alerts. But someone had been there, behind that desk, looking for a party that happened when the building was young and New Year's Eve meant something different. I marked Task 5 complete with trembling hands. Task 6 was next. The elevator ritual. Floor 7. 10:23 p.m. I rode the elevator to 7 in silence, trying to rationalize what had just happened. Audio hallucination, stress. The power of suggestion after Derek's warning. Anything except the obvious explanation. The elevator dinged and opened onto the 7th floor. Standard office hallway. Beige carpet, cream walls, frosted glass doors with company names. Empty and quiet. I walked to the elevator bay where a second elevator waited. The building had 2 elevators servicing all 15 floors. This one was older, slower, with brass doors and an analog floor indicator. 10:22 p.m. 1 minute until task 6. The protocol instructions were specific. Press button for floor 15. Let the doors close without entering. Wait for the elevator to return. Repeat 3 times total. I pressed the button. The elevator was somewhere above, maybe floor 12 or 13, based on the analog indicator. I watched the arrow slowly descend. 12, 11, 10. The elevator arrived with a soft ding. The brass doors slid open with a mechanical whir. The car was empty, as expected. Brass walls reflecting the hallway lights, original Art Deco floor indicator inside. A small bench against the back wall, upholstered in worn red velvet. I stepped back and let the doors close as instructed. The elevator didn't move immediately. The floor indicator stayed on 7. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Then, with a sudden lurch, the elevator started moving. Up. I watched the analog indicator above the doors. 8, 9, 10. It kept going. 11, 12, 13, 14. The elevator stopped at 15 with another soft ding. I stared at the indicator. I hadn't pressed 15 after the doors closed. I'd pressed the button before the elevator arrived. But once I let the doors close, there should have been no destination programmed. The elevator should have gone to the last floor someone pressed from inside. But nobody was inside. I checked my watch. 10:24 p.m. I was already a minute into this task. I needed to wait for the elevator to return before starting the second repetition. The indicator showed 15 for 2 full minutes. Then, finally, the elevator began descending. 14, 13, 12. It didn't stop at 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ground floor. Then, the indicator went dark for a moment before lighting up again. B. Basement. The elevator had gone to the basement on its own. After another minute, it started climbing back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The brass doors slid open. I looked inside carefully before letting them close again. Still empty. Still just brass walls and red velvet and old-fashioned elegance. But I noticed something I'd missed before. A smell. Faint but distinct. Perfume. Something floral and expensive, the kind women wore to formal events, the kind nobody had worn in this building for hours since everyone left at 5 p.m. The doors closed. This time, the elevator descended immediately. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It stopped at 3 with a ding, paused, then descended again. 2, 1, basement, back up. 7. Doors opened. I let them close for the 3rd time. The smell was stronger now. Perfume and something else, champagne. And underneath that, barely perceptible, cigarette smoke. Not fresh smoke, but the ghost of smoke absorbed into fabric and hair. The smell of a party from a different era. The elevator descended one final time, down to 4, then shooting up to 12, back down to 1, finally settling at 7. The doors opened. The car was still empty, but now I could see something I couldn't before. A thin layer of dust on the bench, disturbed in a pattern, as if someone had sat there recently. The imprint of a small person, slight build, pressed into the accumulated dust. I backed away from the elevator, fighting the urge to run. The doors closed slowly, and the elevator finally went still. Task 6, complete. My hands shook as I marked it on the clipboard. The elevator hadn't just malfunctioned. It had carried someone I couldn't see but could smell. Someone who left an imprint in the dust, someone who'd been riding it between floors, waiting. I checked the next instruction, even though I already knew what it was. Task 7, northeast stairwell, floors 9 and 10, do not respond to any sounds. Oh God. The northeast stairwell was the oldest in the building, original to the 1928 construction. The steps were worn white marble, each one slightly concave in the middle from almost a century of footfalls. The walls were covered in cream and green tile that had probably been stunning when new, but now just looked dated. Art Deco bronze railings, still solid, still functional. During the day, with sunlight streaming through the tall, frosted glass windows on each landing, it was charming in a vintage way. A piece of architectural history preserved in the middle of the modern city. At night, alone, it felt different. The stairwell lights were motion-activated to save energy. They clicked on as I climbed from 7 to 8, my footsteps echoing against tile and marble. The sound seemed too loud in the silence. I reached the landing between 8 and 9. The protocol said between 9 and 10, so I kept climbing. The motion sensor lights at 9 flickered slightly before stabilizing. Old wiring. The building had been renovated multiple times, but these original stairwells kept their vintage charm, including temperamental electrical systems. I climbed to the landing between 9 and 10. The space was small, maybe 6 feet by 6 feet, with the marble stairs continuing up in one direction and down in the other. The frosted glass window showed nothing but darkness outside. The city lights didn't reach this high, and the window faced an alley rather than the street. 10:30 p.m. I had 1 minute before I needed to start the 3-minute wait. I looked around, trying to prepare myself. The landing was empty. Just tile walls, marble stairs, bronze railings, a frosted window. Nothing that could make sounds. Nothing that would require me to not respond. My watch showed 10:31. I settled against the wall, set a timer on my watch for 3 minutes, and focused on breathing slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The stairwell was silent except for the hum of the building's ventilation system, a low, constant drone that was somehow more noticeable in the stillness. I'd learned to tune it out during normal patrols, but now every sound seemed amplified. 1 minute passed. I started counting seconds in my head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. At the 90-second mark, I heard it. Footsteps. Above me. Someone walking down the stairs from floor 10. Slow, measured steps, not hurried or sneaking, just someone walking normally down a stairwell, taking their time. The building was supposed to be empty. I'd checked every floor during my regular patrol. The doors were alarmed. If someone had entered, I would have received an alert on my radio. I looked up at the stairs ascending to 10. I couldn't see around the curve of the stairwell, but the footsteps were clear. Each impact distinct. Heel first, then toe. The pattern of someone wearing hard-soled shoes. Dress shoes, maybe. The footsteps continued, closer now, just around the curve of the stairwell. I opened my mouth to call out, "Security, identify yourself." Then I remembered the instruction. Do not respond to any sounds. Not if you hear sounds, not unusual sounds. Any sounds. Which meant Derek knew there would be sounds, had experienced this himself, and knew that responding was a mistake. I closed my mouth and stayed pressed against the wall. The footsteps reached the floor 10 landing. I should have been able to see whoever was making them. The landing was only 15 feet away, clearly visible from where I stood. The stairwell was empty. The footsteps continued anyway, descending now, coming toward me. Each step perfectly audible. The slight echo of impact, the scuff of a shoe against marble. But there was nobody there. I pressed harder against the wall, my heart hammering against my ribs. The footsteps descended toward my landing. 10 steps, 8 steps, 5 steps. They stopped directly beside me. On the landing, 3 feet away, where there was absolutely nothing but empty air. I stared straight ahead, not daring to turn my head to look. My peripheral vision showed me what I already knew. Nobody there. Then I heard breathing. Soft at first. Just the quiet intake and exhale of someone catching their breath after descending stairs. Natural, human, ordinary. Except there was no one there to be breathing. The breathing steadied into a regular rhythm. In, out, in, out. Someone was standing directly beside me on this landing, someone I couldn't see but could hear absolutely clearly. Someone who had walked down from floor 10 and stopped to rest. 2 minutes, 10 seconds on my watch, 50 more seconds. The breathing continued. I could hear details now. A slight rasp at the end of each exhale, like someone with mild asthma or a lifetime of smoking. The sound of air moving through an actual throat, actual lungs. Not a recording, not my imagination. Real. My legs started trembling. Every survival instinct screamed at me to run, to bolt down the stairs and out of this stairwell and away from whatever impossible thing was standing beside me. But I held still, face forward, eyes on the opposite wall. The breathing slowed slightly, becoming calmer. Whoever this was, they were relaxing, getting their breath back. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, a voice. So many stairs. A woman's voice, tired but good-natured. I should have taken the elevator. I bit the inside of my cheek hard enough to taste blood. Don't respond, don't respond, don't respond. But it's such a beautiful night, the voice continued. Worth the climb to see everyone. I could hear the smile in her voice, the anticipation. She was excited about something, looking forward to whatever waited at the top of these stairs, whatever had waited 91 years ago. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Almost there now, she said. Just a few more floors. Then the footsteps resumed. Ascending this time, moving away from me, up toward floor 10. I listened as they grew fainter. 10 steps, 15, 20, the sound echoing less and less until it faded completely. My watch beeped softly. 3 minutes. The breathing stopped. The stairwell was silent again except for the ventilation system's steady hum. I grabbed my clipboard with shaking hands and practically ran down to floor 9. I took the regular hallway to the south stairwell, needing the normalcy of carpeted corridors and office doors and things that made sense. I marked task 7 complete, but my hand shook so badly the checkmark looked more like a scribble. Do not respond to any sounds. Now I understood why. Because those sounds were ghosts. Echoes of people climbing stairs to a party they would never leave. And responding to them, engaging with them, might pull you into their loop, might trap you in a memory that wasn't yours. Task 8 took me to floor 12. Conference room C. Verify all doors are locked. Do not look through door windows. I was grateful for something mundane again, even if the restriction about not looking through windows made my skin crawl. Why wouldn't I look? What might I see? I didn't want to know. Floor 12 was standard office space, corporate law firm, expensive carpet, mahogany doors, framed diplomas and legal awards on the walls. The hallway smelled faintly of coffee and paper. I tested each conference room door without looking through the glass panels. Locked. All of them. Task complete. Task 9 took me to the basement. I rode the elevator down, grateful for the enclosed metal box after the open stairwell. The basement was utilitarian. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, the mechanical heart of the building. Furnace. Backup generator. Storage rooms full of old furniture and boxes. The generator room was at the far end of the basement, warm and smelling of oil. A single bare bulb provided light. The generator itself was a massive diesel unit, probably installed in the 1960s, maintained and updated but never fully replaced. I checked the fuel gauge. 3/4 full. Within the protocol's required range. As I noted the reading on my clipboard, my flashlight beam swept across the wall and caught on something I'd never noticed before. A small brass plaque, mounted at eye level, partially hidden behind a conduit pipe, tarnished with age, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. I stepped closer, moving the pipe aside to read the engraving. In memory of the New Year's Eve celebration, December 31st, 1932. May they find peace in the new year. A memorial plaque. In a basement generator room where nobody would ever see it. I pulled out my phone and searched for information about the Silverton Building in 1932. The building's official website just listed the construction date and some architectural details. Nothing about 1932. I tried different search terms. Silverton Building history. Silverton Building 1930s. Downtown building fire. On the third page of results, I found it. A digitized newspaper article from the city archives. The Daily Chronicle, January 2nd, 1933. Tragedy strikes New Year's gala. 11 dead in Silverton Building fire. My hands went cold as I read. The article was lengthy, written in the dramatic style of 1930s journalism, but the facts were clear. The Silverton Building had hosted a lavish New Year's Eve gala in 1932. The building was only 4 years old then, still considered modern and elegant. The party was hosted by the building's owner, a real estate magnate named Harrison Silverton, in the grand ballroom that occupied the entire 15th floor. Over 200 guests attended, dancing, champagne, an orchestra. The celebration of 1932 ending and 1933 beginning. The hope that the new year would be better than the last, that the Great Depression might ease, that prosperity would return. Just after midnight, a fire broke out. The investigation concluded it started from decorative garlands hung too close to candles. The ballroom's elaborate decorations, soaked in years of cigarette smoke and alcohol, went up like tinder. The fire spread quickly through the top floors, fueled by old wood and ornate fabrics. Most guests escaped. The elevators worked. The stairs were accessible. People ran. But 11 didn't make it. The article listed their names: 7 women, 4 men, ages ranging from 23 to 56. Some were guests, some were staff working the event. All of them died from smoke inhalation in the stairwells as they tried to escape. The newspaper included a diagram showing where the bodies were found. Scattered between floors 9 and 15, mostly in the northeast stairwell, the same stairwell where I'd just spent 3 minutes listening to invisible footsteps and breathing. I kept reading, my mouth dry. The fire was contained to the top 3 floors. The building's concrete and steel construction prevented it from spreading further. But the damage was extensive. The ballroom was destroyed. The 14th and 13th floors were gutted. The building was closed for 6 months. Harrison Silverton died 3 months after the fire, they said, from a broken heart, though the article hinted at suicide. His family sold the building to a management company. When it reopened, the 15th floor was converted to storage. The building continued to operate, but never again hosted a New Year's Eve event. I found another article, this one from 1934. Silverton Building implements New Year's protocol. It was brief, just a mention that building management had established special security procedures for December 31st for the safety and comfort of all involved, the article said. I looked back at the brass plaque. 11 people, 11 ghosts maybe, still trapped in the building where they died, still climbing stairs to a party they'd never reach, still breathing the smoke that killed them. May they find peace in the new year. But they hadn't found peace. They were still here. I'd heard one of them, heard her breathing, heard her voice talking about the beautiful night and seeing everyone. My watch showed 11:15 p.m. I'd spent 10 minutes reading about dead people. I had 2 more tasks before midnight. Task 10, Floor 15. Turn off all lights for exactly 5 minutes. The floor where the fire started. The floor where the ballroom used to be. The floor where decorations caught fire and killed 11 people. I rode the elevator up, my stomach tight with dread, the newspaper articles still glowing on my phone screen. Task 10 required me to go to floor 15, the floor where the fire started, the floor where a ballroom once held 200 people celebrating, the floor where decorations caught flame and turned celebration into tragedy. The instruction was specific and terrifying. Turn off all lights on floor 15. Leave them off for exactly 5 minutes. Do not leave the floor during this time. The elevator rose slowly. I watched the numbers climb. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The doors opened with a ding that seemed too cheerful for what I was about to do. The 15th floor was nothing like the polished office spaces below. This was pure storage. The motion sensors triggered the lights automatically. Bright fluorescents humming to life across the sprawling space. The floor plan was completely open, no walls dividing it into offices. It would have been perfect for a ballroom. High ceilings with ornate plaster moldings, tall windows along the exterior walls, though most were now covered with decades of grime. Art Deco columns at regular intervals, supporting the roof. But instead of dancers and orchestra and champagne, there were only filing cabinets and broken office furniture and stacks of cardboard boxes. Things the building's tenants didn't need, but couldn't throw away. Old computers from the 1990s, filing systems that had been digitized, chairs with torn upholstery. The ghosts of a grand ballroom, buried under the detritus of modern business. I found the light panel near the elevator. It was larger than the ones on other floors, with 24 switches instead of the usual 16. This floor had needed more light once, when it served a purpose beyond storage. I checked my watch. 11:16 p.m. I needed to wait until 11:17 exactly. I spent the minute looking around trying to imagine what this space had been like. The windows would have been clean, offering views of the city below. The floor would have been polished wood, perfect for dancing. The columns would have been wrapped in garlands and ribbons. Tables along the walls with champagne and hors d'oeuvres serves. An orchestra in the corner. People in formal wear, laughing and drinking and welcoming. 1933. 11:17 p.m. I flipped all 24 switches down. The floor plunged into darkness so absolute it was disorienting. No windows letting in city light, no emergency signs visible from where I stood. Just pure, complete darkness. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. The only light came from the elevator's control panel behind me, a faint green glow that barely penetrated the black. 5 minutes, 300 seconds. I could do this. I stayed by the light panel, one hand touching the wall to maintain orientation. My eyes started adjusting slowly, finding the faint shapes of filing cabinets and boxes against the slightly less dark windows. 30 seconds passed in silence. Then I heard it. So faint at first I thought I was imagining it. Music. Not from speakers, not from any device, but music nonetheless, drifting through the darkness like smoke. An orchestra playing a waltz, violins and cellos and a piano. The sound tinny and distant, as if filtered through decades of time. The music grew louder, not blaring, but present, definite, real enough that I could recognize the song now. A popular tune from the 1930s, something my grandmother used to play. Then came voices, laughter, conversation, the unmistakable sound of people enjoying themselves at a party. The darkness around me began to change, not lighting up exactly, but becoming less empty. Shapes moved in the shadows, translucent figures like old film projected onto smoke. barely visible but absolutely there. I stood frozen, watching ghosts dance in the dark. A woman in a beaded dress materialized 3 feet in front of me, turning gracefully as if in someone's arms. I could see through her to the filing cabinet beyond, but I could also see every detail of her dress, her bobbed hair, the pearl necklace around her throat. She was smiling, happy, unaware of what was coming. More figures appeared, dozens of them, men in tuxedos, women in evening gowns, all of them translucent, all of them dancing and laughing and celebrating. The ghost party was recreating itself. 91 years after it ended in fire and death, it was happening again. A man walked past me so close, I instinctively stepped aside, even though I knew he couldn't touch me. He was lighting a cigarette, the ghost flame from his ghost lighter illuminating his face for a moment. He looked young, maybe 30, handsome in the way old photographs made everyone look. He walked away into the crowd of dancers, unaware I existed. The music swelled. The ghosts moved faster, more energetically. I could hear individual voices now. What a marvelous party! Harrison certainly outdid himself this year. 3 more minutes until the new year. I looked at my watch, the faint luminescence of the dial visible in the dark. 2 minutes had passed. 3 more to go. The ghost party continued around me. An orchestra that didn't exist played music I could hear clearly. People who'd been dead for 91 years laughed and danced and raised champagne glasses to their lips. This was the moment they were trapped in. Not their deaths, not yet. But this, the celebration, the joy, the anticipation of countdown and New Year and fresh starts. A woman appeared directly in front of me, so close I could have touched her if she were solid. She wore a silver dress that caught the non-existent light, making her shimmer. She looked young, younger than me, with dark hair pinned up in elaborate curls. She was laughing at something someone had said, her head thrown back, absolutely radiant with happiness. I recognized her somehow, though we'd never met. The woman in the stairwell, the one who'd stood beside me breathing, the one who'd talked about climbing stairs to see everyone. She'd made it to the party, had climbed those stairs and arrived and danced and laughed and never suspected what was about to happen. 3 minutes. Then I smelled it. Smoke. Not real smoke. Ghost smoke, the phantom of what had happened 91 years ago. But my body reacted anyway. My eyes started watering. My throat felt tight. My lungs constricted. The music began to change. The smooth waltz became chaotic, discordant, notes clashing. The rhythm breaking down. The ghosts noticed. The woman in the silver dress stopped laughing. She looked around, confused. Other dancers stopped moving. Conversations died mid-sentence. Someone screamed. "Fire!" The ghost party erupted into panic. I watched in frozen horror as the translucent figures ran in all directions. Toward where doors used to be. Toward the stairs. Pushing and shoving and screaming silent screams I could barely hear. The smoke smell grew stronger, acrid, burning wood and fabric and something else, something organic. The lights in the room began to change, though all the switches were still off. A flickering orange glow appeared in one corner. Ghost flames, recreating the fire that killed them. 4 minutes. The woman in the silver dress ran toward me, her eyes wide with terror. She didn't see me, couldn't see me. She was looking at something else, at the layout of the room as it had been, at an exit that no longer existed where I now stood. She reached the wall and clawed at it, her translucent hands passing through the plaster. Her mouth opened in a scream I couldn't hear. Tears streamed down her ghost face. Behind her, more ghosts collapsed, fell to the floor clutching their throats, crawled toward stairs, toward elevators, toward windows. All of them dying again, reliving those final moments when smoke filled their lungs and stole their breath and ended their lives. I saw them all. 11 people dying, 7 women, 4 men, The same ones from the newspaper article. Some were guests in party clothes. Some wore staff uniforms. All of them terrified. All of them desperate to escape. A man in a tuxedo staggered toward the elevator, coughing phantom coughs. He made it 3 steps before collapsing. His hand reached out toward where I stood, fingers grasping at empty air. Then he faded away. The woman in the silver dress turned from the wall. She looked directly at me, though I don't think she saw me. Not really. Her eyes were unfocused, glazed with pain and fear. She reached toward me, her mouth forming words I couldn't hear. "Help me, please. I don't want to die." Her hand passed through my chest. I felt it. God help me, I felt it. Not physical contact, something else. Something deeper and more terrible. Her fear flooded into me through that ghostly touch, her desperation, her absolute certainty that she was about to die. That death was rushing toward her and there was no escape. I felt what she'd felt 91 years ago in this exact spot. The smoke burning her lungs, the heat from the flames on her skin, the crushing knowledge that this was the end, that she'd never see her family again, never finish all the things she'd planned to do, never get another chance. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. The woman faded away, her hand still reaching. The ghost fire grew brighter, spreading across the ceiling, consuming the translucent decorations. The orchestra's ghost music distorted into screeching noise before cutting out entirely. One by one, the ghosts collapsed and disappeared. 11 deaths happening simultaneously, scattered across the invisible ballroom. Until the floor was empty again. Dark, silent. Just me and the filing cabinets and boxes of discarded office supplies. My watch beeped. 5 minutes. I slammed my hand against the light switches, flooding the floor with harsh fluorescent brightness. The ghosts were gone. The music had stopped. The smell of smoke disappeared. I stood alone on a floor full of old furniture and forgotten files, my heart racing, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold my clipboard. The spot on my chest where the woman's ghost hand had passed through felt cold, deep cold, like ice had formed inside my ribs. I marked task 10, complete with trembling fingers, and practically ran to the elevator. The doors couldn't close fast enough. As the elevator descended, I tried to process what I'd just witnessed. Not just ghosts, a full recreation of their deaths. They'd relived it all. The party, the joy, the fire, the terror, the final moments. And I'd been there to see it, to witness it, to make it real enough that they could experience it one more time. I understood now. The protocol wasn't just a checklist, it was a ritual. Each task prepared the building, prepared me for this moment, the midnight crossing. 2 tasks left. Task 11 was next. Return to the security office. Review all camera footage from the night. Note any anomalies. I burst into the security office like it was a life raft. The familiar desk, the wall of monitors, the coffee maker with cold coffee from 6 hours ago. Normal things, safe things, things that existed firmly in the present, not 91 years in the past. I collapsed into my chair, my whole body shaking. The cold spot on my chest where the ghost's hand had passed through still felt frozen, like the warmth would never come back. Task 11. Review all camera footage from the night. Note any anomalies in the shift log. I pulled up the security system and started rewinding through the night's recordings. 23 cameras throughout the building, capturing everything in grainy black and white. The footage showed exactly what I'd experienced. Me walking the floors, checking doors, standing in stairwells. A lone figure moving through empty hallways. But the cameras also showed what I hadn't seen, or rather, what I'd only partially seen. I started with the floor 7 elevator footage from 10:23 p.m. The camera inside the elevator car activated when the doors opened. The elevator was not empty. A man stood inside, tall, wearing a dark overcoat and a fedora, the style from the 1930s. His face was turned slightly away from the camera, grainy and indistinct in the old camera's resolution. But he was absolutely there, solid enough to cast a faint shadow on the brass wall behind him. He stood perfectly still as the doors opened, as I stepped back, letting them close without entering. The camera showed him looking toward where I stood, though his features were impossible to make out. Then the doors closed, and the elevator began its journey to floor 15. I fast-forwarded to the second time the elevator returned, the third time. Each time the man was still there, standing in the same spot, looking out at me, waiting for a passenger who would never board. I switched to the stairwell camera between floors 9 and 10. The angle captured most of the landing where I'd stood. At 10:31 p.m., a figure appeared in the frame. A woman in a long dress, the style from the early 20th century. Dark fabric, high collar, her hair pinned up in an elaborate style. She walked down from floor 10, each step captured clearly by the camera. She reached my landing and stopped. The camera showed her standing right beside me, so close our shoulders nearly touched. She stood there for the full 3 minutes, breathing. I could see her chest rising and falling. Could see her looking up toward the higher floors, like she was resting before continuing her climb. When my watch beeped and I walked away, she remained for a few more seconds. Then she resumed walking up the stairs, heading toward floor 15, toward a party that had ended 91 years ago. I skipped to the floor 15 footage, my hands still trembling. The camera on 15 was newer, installed maybe 10 years ago when they'd converted the floor to storage. Color, better resolution, motion activated. It activated at 11:17 p.m. when I entered the floor. The footage showed me walking to the light panel, showed me flipping the switches, and then it showed everything. The ghosts were fully visible to the camera. Not translucent like they'd been to my eyes, but solid, clear, real. The entire party recreated in vivid detail. 200 people in 1930s formal wear dancing and laughing and celebrating. The orchestra was there, actual musicians with actual instruments. Tables lined the walls, covered with champagne bottles and food. Decorations hung from the columns and ceiling. For 90 seconds, the camera captured a party in full swing. Then, the fire started. I watched the flames appear in the corner, near where decorative garlands hung from a column. Watched them spread across the ceiling. Watched the panic set in. The camera captured all of it. Every terrified face. Every person running for exits that no longer existed. Every moment of their deaths. I saw the woman in the silver dress reach the spot where I'd stood. Saw her claw at the wall, her face contorted in terror. Saw her turn and look directly at the camera, tears streaming down her face. Saw her mouth form one word, "Help." Then she collapsed. The camera showed her clearly, her body going limp, the light fading from her eyes. Dead at 24 years old, on New Year's Eve, 91 years ago. The camera showed me standing there, perfectly still, as 11 ghosts died around me. Showed them fade away one by one. Showed the fire disappear. Showed the floor return to empty storage. Then showed me turn on the lights and run. I sat back from the monitor, my stomach churning. The cameras had captured everything, every ghost, every death, the entire tragedy playing out one more time. I wrote in the shift log, my handwriting barely legible. Anomalies observed on all camera feeds. Unexplained figures visible on floors 7, 9, and 15. Visual phenomena consistent with building's historical events. No current security threats. Professional language for something impossible to explain professionally. The clock on the wall showed 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes until midnight, 15 minutes until task 12. I had time to review the rest of the footage, but I'd seen enough. I knew what the cameras would show. The ghost in the lobby at 10:10 p.m. More figures in the stairwells. Shadows moving on floors where I hadn't been. All of them building toward midnight. All of them gathering for the moment when everything changed. One last task remained. Task 12. At 11:59 p.m., be in the lobby facing the front entrance. Watch the street. When the countdown ends, count to 30 before moving. The final protocol. The reason for everything that had come before. I closed the camera footage and stood up. My legs felt weak, but I forced them to carry me. Down the hallway, through the security door, into the lobby. The massive space was dark except for the emergency lighting. The marble information desk gleamed dully in the low light. The terrazzo floor reflected nothing. The brass fixtures were shadow shapes against darker shadows. I walked to the center of the lobby and turned to face the front entrance. Through the glass doors, I could see the street outside. Downtown was in full celebration mode now. Groups of people passed by constantly, couples holding hands, friends laughing and stumbling, everyone dressed up, everyone happy, everyone looking forward to the countdown. I checked my watch. 11:53 p.m. 7 minutes until midnight. 7 minutes until the new year. 7 minutes until I found out what this had all been building toward. I stood alone in the dark lobby, facing the glass doors, listening to the muffled sounds of celebration from outside. And I waited. I stood in the lobby at 11:58 p.m., my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Through the glass doors, the street was packed now. People had gathered on every corner, phones out, ready to capture the moment. A group directly across the street from the Silverton Building was particularly loud, already chanting and cheering in anticipation. The lobby behind me was silent, but I could feel them gathering, not seeing them, not hearing them, but feeling their presence like pressure in the air, like the moment before a thunderstorm when everything goes still and electric. They were here, all of them. 11:59 p.m. 1 minute until midnight. 1 minute until the new year. 1 minute until 1932 became 1933, all over again, at least for 30 seconds. The countdown protocol. Watch the street. When the countdown ends, count to 30. Give them 30 seconds to cross from the old year to the new, from death to whatever comes after, from the loop they'd been trapped in to freedom. 30 seconds was all they got, once a year, to try again. The crowd outside started counting. They all had their phones up, showing synchronized countdowns, digital numbers flickering. 60, 59, 58. Behind me, I heard the first footstep. I didn't turn around. The protocol said to face the entrance. Only the entrance. More footsteps joined the first. Slow, measured, walking across the terrazzo floor. Not running, not frantic, just walking, like people arriving at a gathering. 50, 49, 48. The glass doors in front of me became mirrors in the darkness, reflecting the lobby behind me. And I saw them, all of them. Not just the 11 who died, but hundreds. Maybe everyone who'd ever died in this building over the past 96 years. Maybe everyone who'd attended that party, whether they died or survived. All of them drawn back for this one moment when the calendar changed and boundaries got thin. They filled the lobby behind me. Translucent figures in clothes from different eras. The woman in the silver dress was there, standing near the information desk. The man from the elevator. The woman from the stairwell. Others I didn't recognize. All of them waiting. All of them silent. All of them watching the street through the glass doors. 30, 29, 28. More ghosts appeared. An old security guard in a uniform from the 1950s. A cleaning woman in clothes from the 60s. Business people in 80s power suits. All of them dead. All of them trapped. All of them hoping. 20, 19, 18. I realized with a chill what I was seeing. This was everyone who died with unfinished business in this building. The sudden heart attack on floor 8. The janitor who fell downstairs. The executive who jumped from a window. All the small tragedies that accumulate over nearly a century. They all came back on New Year's Eve. Drawn by the possibility of crossing over when the year turned, but they needed a witness. Someone alive. Someone who could see them and acknowledge them and make their passage real. 10, 9, 8. The ghosts moved closer together. I could see faces in the reflection now, young and old, happy and sad. All of them looking toward the street with an expression I recognized, hope. Pure, desperate hope that this time would be different, that this time they could let go. 7, 6, 5. My hands were shaking. I wanted to turn around, to look at them directly, to tell them I saw them and I understood and I was sorry they'd been trapped for so long. But the protocol said face the entrance, watch the street. So I did. 4, 3, 2. The ghost behind me fell silent, absolutely silent. The lobby felt like it was holding its breath. Outside, the crowd screamed together, 1, Happy New Year! Fireworks exploded somewhere nearby. Car horns blared. People hugged and kissed and cheered. The street erupted in celebration. Behind me, nothing. No sound. No movement. Just the weight of hundreds of ghosts waiting. I started counting, out loud, so they could hear me. So they knew I was doing this for them. 1. In the glass reflection, the ghosts began to change. Their translucent forms started to glow softly, like moonlight on water. 2, 3, 4. The glow grew brighter, warmer, not frightening but peaceful, beautiful even. 5, 6, 7. The woman in the silver dress was first. The glow around her intensified until she was more light than form. She looked at me one last time in the reflection, and I saw her face clearly for the first time. She was smiling. Actually smiling. Not the terrified expression from her death, but genuine joy. 8, 9, 10. She faded away. Not vanishing in fear or pain, but dissolving peacefully into light. There, one moment, gone the next. And I understood. She'd finally made it through. Finally crossed over. Finally found peace in the new year, 91 years late. 11, 12, 13. More ghosts began to fade. The man from the elevator, the security guard from the 50s, a woman in a 1920s flapper dress I hadn't noticed before. One by one, they glowed bright and dissolved into nothing. 14, 15, 16. The lobby was becoming lighter, even though no lights were on. The accumulated glow from hundreds of departing spirits illuminated the space like dawn. 17, 18, 19. The woman from the stairwell, the one who'd breathed beside me, stepped forward in the reflection. She looked younger than I'd imagined, maybe 19 or 20. She'd died climbing stairs to a party, never making it, never getting to celebrate. Now she raised her translucent hand in a wave. "Thank you," her gesture said. "Thank you for seeing us." Then she was gone too, dissolving into warm light. 20, 21, 22. They were leaving faster now, dozens at a time. The lobby and the reflection filled with glowing light as spirit after spirit finally let go and moved on. I saw the staff members from the party. The musicians from the orchestra, the guests who'd survived but never forgot, the building's victims from across the decades, all of them leaving, all of them crossing over. 23, 24, 25. Outside, the celebration continued. People were taking selfies, hugging strangers, singing Auld Lang Syne drunkenly. They had no idea what was happening 10 feet away, separated only by glass doors. They didn't see the hundreds of souls finally finding freedom. But I did. 26, 27, 28. The last few ghosts remained, the youngest victims, a child who must have died in some accident, an elderly woman, probably from natural causes, a young man in military uniform from World War II. They glowed brighter than the others, as if they'd been waiting longer and had further to go. 29. 1 second left. 1 second for them to cross from the old year to the new, from death to whatever came after. The last 3 ghosts looked at me in the reflection. The child smiled. The elderly woman nodded. The soldier saluted. 30. They faded away in a burst of light so bright I had to close my eyes. When I opened them again, the lobby was empty, completely empty. No ghosts, no translucent figures, no presence weighing down the air. The pressure I'd been feeling all night was gone, released into wherever spirits went when they finally let go. I turned around slowly, breaking the protocol for the first time all night. The lobby was dark and quiet, just marble and brass and terrazzo. A beautiful Art Deco space, finally free of the weight it had carried for almost a century. My legs gave out. I sat down right there on the floor, my back against the glass doors, and started crying. Not from fear, from relief, from the overwhelming emotion of what I'd just witnessed. I'd helped them, all of them. The protocol had guided me through the night, preparing the building and preparing me for this moment. And when midnight came, when the year turned, I'd been the witness they needed to finally cross over. The countdown protocol wasn't security theater. It was compassion. It was a gift given to the dead by the living, 1 night a year, forever. I sat there for 5 minutes, maybe 10, just breathing and trying to process what had happened. Then I stood up, wiped my eyes, and walked back to the security office. I had a shift log to complete. I walked back to the security office on legs that felt like they might give out at any moment. The building felt different now, lighter. The hallways seemed brighter, even though the lighting hadn't changed. The air felt cleaner, fresher, like windows had been opened to let out decades of stale breath. I collapsed into my desk chair and opened the red folder one more time. On the inside cover, in faded ink, was a note I'd seen earlier but hadn't fully understood until now. Thank you for helping them remember. They died when 1 year ended and another began. Each New Year's Eve, they get to complete the journey. They get to cross from the old year to the new. Your witness makes it possible. Signed, Richard Holloway, Night Security Supervisor, 1968 to 1994. Below that, in different handwriting, more recent, the protocol is mercy. Follow it with care. Signed, Thomas Chen, Building Manager, 1994 to 2012. And below that, Derek's handwriting. You'll understand now why this matters. Thank you for taking this shift. Signed, Derek Patterson, Night Security Supervisor, 2009 to 2024. I pulled out a pen and added my own note. I saw them cross over, every single one. The building is lighter now. I'll be here next year to help whoever needs it. Signed, Jake Morrison, Night Security Supervisor, 2022 to present. I closed the folder and sat back, staring at the monitors showing empty hallways. All those tasks throughout the night, they'd all served a purpose. Every single one had prepared the building and prepared me for what happened at midnight. The elevator ritual had let the first ghosts emerge, testing whether I'd follow instructions even when they didn't make sense. Standing in the stairwell had shown me they were real, that I wasn't imagining things, that I needed to trust what I experienced. The darkness on floor 15 had let them relive their deaths one final time, confronting and releasing the trauma that kept them bound to this place. Reviewing the camera footage had confirmed what I'd witnessed, giving me proof I wasn't losing my mind. And standing in the lobby at midnight, facing away from them but acknowledging their presence, had given them the witness they needed to finally let go. All of it connected, all of it necessary. A ritual performed by every night supervisor who'd worked New Year's Eve at the Silverton Building since 1933. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "How did it go?" I looked at the red folder, at the monitors showing peaceful, empty hallways, at the clock showing 12:47 a.m., the first day of the new year. I typed back, "It went exactly as it should. They're at peace now." 3 dots appeared immediately, like he'd been waiting for my response. "Good. I'm glad you were there for them. Did you understand why?" I thought about the woman in the silver dress, about her smile as she finally crossed over, about the hundreds of spirits who'd been waiting for this one night when boundaries got thin enough for them to try again. "Yes," I typed. "I understand completely. Thank you, Jake. Really. I'll see you next week." I made my final rounds of the night, checking that everything was secure. The building felt peaceful now, settled. Whatever energy had filled it during those midnight moments was gone, released into whatever came next. Floors 1 through 5, checking the same fire doors I'd checked at 9 p.m., but now it felt different. Not haunted, just old. A building with history, yes, but not a building trapped by that history. Floor 7. I took the elevator, the same one that had carried an invisible passenger hours earlier. Now, it was just an elevator. Old, slow, but empty except for me. Floor 9. The stairwell where I'd heard footsteps and breathing. Silent now except for the ventilation hum. I walked through it without fear. Floor 15. I turned on the lights and looked at the storage space with new eyes. This had been a ballroom once. 200 people had danced here, celebrating, hoping for a better new year. 11 of them had died here. And tonight, 91 years later, they'd finally found peace. I found a cardboard box and wrote on it with a marker, "In memory, New Year's Eve, 1932. I placed it in a corner, a small memorial for people whose names I'd read in newspaper articles, but whose faces I'd seen in translucent form. They deserved to be remembered, not just as tragedy, but as people who'd dressed up and gone to a party and danced and laughed and had their lives cut short. At 2 a.m., my replacement arrived for the day shift. Marcus was new, only been with the building for 3 months, young, enthusiastic, didn't believe in ghosts. He'd learn. Eventually, maybe years from now, he'd get the red folder and the countdown protocol and his own chance to help the dead find peace. But not tonight. Tonight was just a normal shift change, the first day of a new year, the sun not yet up, but the promise of it on the horizon. "How was your night?" Marcus asked, setting down his coffee. I looked at the monitors showing empty hallways, at the red folder on the desk, at the building that had been heavy with ghosts and was now finally free. "Quiet," I said. "Everything went exactly as it should." I drove home as the city settled into the first hours of January 1st. The streets were littered with confetti and abandoned party hats. People were heading home, tired and happy, looking forward to sleeping in and recovering from their celebrations. I thought about the woman in the silver dress, about the gratitude in her eyes as she faded away, about 11 people who'd been trapped for 91 years, reliving their deaths over and over until someone witnessed their passing and helped them move on. Just for 30 seconds, once a year, at the moment when everything changes and one year becomes another. The protocol had seemed strange at first, arbitrary. The specific times, the odd tasks, the restrictions on what I could do. But now I understood. Every detail mattered. Every step served a purpose. The ritual had been refined over decades, passed down from supervisor to supervisor, each one adding their own note to the red folder, each one helping the dead complete the journey they'd started 91 years ago. I pulled into my apartment parking lot, exhausted but strangely satisfied. I'd expected to spend the night checking empty rooms and watching monitors. Instead, I'd helped hundreds of souls take the journey they'd been waiting decades to complete. I'd witnessed the moment when trapped spirits finally found freedom. I'd been part of something bigger than me, something that stretched back through time and would continue forward after I was gone. Not a bad way to start the new year. I fell into bed as sunrise painted my bedroom window orange. My last thought before sleep took me was of that woman's smile. Genuine joy after 91 years of fear and pain. I'd given her that. The protocol had guided me, but I'd been the one standing there. I'd been the witness. I'd made their crossing possible. That mattered. That meant something. I've worked 3 more New Year's Eve shifts since that first one. Each year, the protocol remains the same. 12 tasks spread throughout the night, each one preparing the building and preparing me for the midnight crossing. Each year, I follow every instruction exactly. The times, the locations, the restrictions, and each year, at midnight, I stand in the lobby and watch the reflections gather behind me. Sometimes I recognize faces from the previous year. Usually, there are new ones. People who died in the building throughout the year, added to the group who wait for their annual chance to cross over. The woman in the silver dress was gone after that first year. She'd made it through. I've never seen her again. But others remain. A few seem to need multiple crossings, multiple witnesses, multiple New Years before they can finally let go. I don't know why some cross over immediately while others take longer. Maybe the trauma was deeper. Maybe the attachments were stronger. Maybe time works differently for the dead. It doesn't matter. I'll be there for as many years as it takes. I'll follow the protocol. I'll bear witness. I'll count to 30 while they glow and fade and finally find peace. Derek retired last year. Before he left, he gave me the red folder officially. "It's yours now," he said. "You understand what it means." I do. I understand that the Silverton Building isn't haunted in the traditional sense. It's not a place of fear and violence and malevolent spirits. It's a way station. A place where those who died in confusion and fear can return one night a year to try again. To cross over when the numbers on the calendar change and the world collectively agrees that everything is new. They need a witness. Someone alive who can see them, acknowledge them, help them remember they existed and that their deaths mattered. And that they deserve peace. The protocol ensures they get that witness. I've started training Marcus. He's not quite ready yet, still too skeptical, still too convinced there's a rational explanation for everything. But he's curious, and he follows instructions well, and when the time comes, he'll get the red folder and his own first New Year's Eve shift. He'll think I'm crazy when I try to explain. They always do at first. But then he'll experience it himself. He'll hear the footsteps in the stairwell. He'll smell perfume in the empty elevator. He'll watch ghosts dance and die on floor 15. He'll stand in the dark lobby at midnight and count to 30 while spirits finally cross from the old year to the new. And he'll understand, just like I did, just like Derek and Thomas and Richard and all the supervisors before them, because traditions matter, especially the ones that help the dead find peace. Even if most of the world will never know they exist. The building stands quiet now as I finish tonight's regular patrol, 342 days before the next New Year's Eve. No special protocol tonight. Just me and the empty halls and the ghosts who wait patiently for December 31st to come around again. I check the calendar on my desk and mark the date. 342 days. They'll wait. They've waited this long. And when the time comes, I'll be here. I'll open the red folder. I'll follow every task precisely. I'll stand in the dark lobby facing the entrance as midnight approaches, and I'll count to 30 while the dead finally find their peace. One midnight at a time, one new year at a time, forever.